America is home to over 14 million undocumented immigrants, a hidden nation powering the U.S. economy from fields to factories. These immigrant workers generate more than $100 billion in annual spending power and contribute nearly $12 billion in state and local taxes. Yet most live paycheck to paycheck, unseen by the very system they sustain. From California's $50 billion farmlands to Florida's $8 billion tourism industry, these workers harvest the crops, build the homes, and clean the cities millions rely on every day. This is the untold story of the 10 U.S. states where undocumented immigrants keep the American dream alive, without recognition and without rest. Number 10. Georgia, the invisible workforce. Fueling the New South's boom. Georgia has become the beating heart of the modern South, a state defined by booming cities, non-stop construction, and massive logistics hubs. Yet behind that growth lies an unseen force: undocumented immigrants in Georgia. As of 2025, nearly 340,000 undocumented residents, about 3% of the population, quietly sustain the Georgia economy, from poultry plants to highway construction. In Atlanta, tens of thousands of migrant workers keep the city's 6 million residents fed, housed, and moving, driving delivery trucks, cleaning office towers, and staffing restaurants. Beyond the metro area, Georgia's $4.2 billion poultry industry, one of the largest in the U.S., depends overwhelmingly on immigrant labor, where many earn just $13 to $16 per hour. The rising cost of living adds daily pressure. In Atlanta, average rent for a two-bedroom apartment sits around $1,800, while food and gas prices have jumped 25% since 2020. For undocumented families, that means choosing between rent, utilities, or sending money home. Yet despite low wages, they contribute over $900 million annually in state and local taxes, according to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. While Georgia lacks formal sanctuary state protections, Atlanta and a few other cities follow informal "don't ask" policies, offering limited safety to immigrant residents. Thousands of children from mixed-status families attend Georgia schools, dreaming of being the first in their families to graduate college. The reality is clear. Georgia's growth depends on undocumented labor. Without these workers, farms wouldn't harvest, construction would stall, and restaurants would close. From building high-rises in Atlanta to harvesting onions in Vidalia, undocumented immigrants aren't just part of Georgia's economy, they are its foundation. Number 9. North Carolina, the hidden hands. Building the Tar Heel State. In North Carolina, where tobacco fields have evolved into sprawling industrial farms and fast-growing cities, the story of undocumented immigrants is one of endurance and survival. As of 2025, nearly 360,000 undocumented residents live in the state, around 3.3% of North Carolina's total population, and their labor powers nearly every major industry driving the North Carolina economy. Agriculture remains the foundation. The state produces over $13 billion in crops and livestock annually, much of it sustained by migrant farm workers. From harvesting sweet potatoes and tobacco to processing poultry, undocumented workers often endure 12-hour shifts for just $14 to $17 an hour, frequently without proper safety gear. In rural counties like Duplin and Sampson, immigrants make up more than 40% of the labor force in major processing facilities. In urban centers such as Charlotte, Raleigh, and Greensboro, undocumented immigrants dominate construction, landscaping, hospitality, and food service, quietly building the cities they can't always afford to live in. The average rent in Charlotte now exceeds $1,700 per month, while grocery prices have climbed more than 20% since 2020, stretching families earning under $30,000 a year to their limits. Despite lacking official sanctuary protections, North Carolina's immigrant communities have built their own safety nets, churches offering food and ESL classes, nonprofits providing legal aid, and schools supporting undocumented students. Many families have lived here for decades, raising U.S.-born children who call the Tar Heel State home. Their contributions are massive. Undocumented immigrants add nearly $900 million annually in state and local taxes. Yet, political rhetoric often overlooks a simple truth: North Carolina's prosperity depends on them. They pick the crops, build the homes, and keep the state's economy thriving. The invisible workforce that keeps North Carolina's lights on. Number 8. Washington, the hidden workforce behind the evergreen state's economy. Washington State, famous for its rain, coffee culture, and tech giants like Amazon and Microsoft, also relies on a powerful but invisible engine: undocumented immigrants. As of 2025, nearly 300,000 undocumented residents call Washington home, representing almost 4% of the state's population. They are the backbone of industries that keep the state running: agriculture, construction, food processing, and logistics. In the Yakima Valley, 1 in 3 farm workers is believed to be undocumented. The region's $4.6 billion fruit industry, apples, cherries, and hops, depends almost entirely on migrant labor. Yet many earn only $15 to $18 per hour, often without health coverage or stable housing. Rent for small farm units averages $1,200 monthly, consuming nearly half their income. In cities like Seattle and Tacoma, undocumented immigrants are vital to construction, cleaning, and restaurant services. Despite Washington's high minimum wage of $16.28 per hour, skyrocketing living costs make survival difficult. A one-bedroom apartment in Seattle averages $2,200, forcing many workers to share cramped housing or live far outside the city. Washington's sanctuary state policy, enacted in 2019, protects undocumented residents from local immigration enforcement and grants limited access to driver's licenses and basic health care. Still, fear of deportation remains constant. Undocumented immigrants contribute over $1.2 billion annually in state and local taxes, yet receive few benefits. While political tensions over housing costs, border policies, and income inequality persist, one truth remains. From Yakima's orchards to Seattle's kitchens, Washington's economy depends deeply on undocumented immigrant labor, an essential yet often unseen pillar of prosperity. Number 7. Massachusetts, the invisible workforce powering the Bay State's economy. Massachusetts may be known for Harvard University, biotech innovation, and its revolutionary history, but beneath that success lies a powerful and often invisible labor force: undocumented immigrants. As of 2025, an estimated 320,000 undocumented residents live in Massachusetts, about 4.5% of the state's population. Concentrated in Boston, Worcester, and Lawrence, these communities have become essential to the service, construction, and healthcare industries that keep the Bay State running. Living costs are punishing. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Boston exceeds $2,900 per month, while the median household income sits near $97,000, far beyond reach for most undocumented workers earning $15 to $20 per hour in kitchens, delivery services, or cleaning jobs. Still, their contribution to the Massachusetts economy is enormous. The Massachusetts Taxpayers Foundation reports that undocumented immigrants pay over $400 million annually in state and local taxes, despite being excluded from most federal benefits. The Work and Family Mobility Act of 2023 allowed undocumented residents to obtain driver's licenses, a crucial step towards safety and economic inclusion. Yet, healthcare access remains limited, and fear of deportation prevents many from reporting abuse or unsafe work conditions. In healthcare and elder care, 1 in 5 home health aides are foreign-born, many without legal status. Central Massachusetts' construction and food processing industries also depend heavily on immigrant labor to fill chronic worker shortages. Even in a progressive state, rising grocery costs, soaring utility bills, and relentless rent hikes hit undocumented families hardest. They continue to live, work, and pay taxes in silence, the unseen, underpaid, but indispensable workers sustaining Massachusetts' prosperity. Number 6. New Jersey, the hidden workforce behind the Garden State's growth. Despite its small size, New Jersey has one of the highest concentrations of undocumented immigrants in America. As of 2025, nearly 490,000 undocumented residents, about 5.2% of the state's population, call the Garden State home. Its proximity to New York City, strong service industries, and deeply rooted immigrant communities make New Jersey both a gateway and a permanent home for thousands seeking stability and opportunity. Most undocumented immigrants live in Hudson, Bergen, and Essex counties, where they form the backbone of everyday life. From construction and transportation to food service, cleaning, and domestic work, these immigrant workers fuel a $700 billion state economy. In cities like Newark, Paterson, and Elizabeth, roughly 1 in 10 workers is undocumented, keeping essential industries running. The average undocumented household earns around $45,000 annually, yet faces steep living costs, with rent averaging $2,000 to $2,500 for modest apartments. Despite limited rights, undocumented immigrants contribute more than $1.1 billion in state and local taxes each year, and many also operate small businesses, restaurants, auto shops, and cleaning services that sustain local economies and culture. New Jersey's sanctuary policies set it apart from many states. It offers driver's licenses regardless of immigration status, state financial aid for undocumented students, and protections limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Yet, challenges persist. Healthcare remains costly, with most lacking insurance, and inflation has pushed food prices up 25% since 2021. Still, hope endures. From Dominican bodegas to Mexican construction crews and Filipino restaurants, undocumented residents shape New Jersey's vibrant identity. They may not appear in official census data, but their impact on New Jersey's economy, culture, and resilience is undeniable. Without them, the Garden State simply wouldn't grow. Number 5. Texas, the powerhouse. Fueled by undocumented immigrants. Everything's bigger in Texas. The land, the economy, and the undocumented immigrant population that keeps it running. With an estimated 2.1 million undocumented residents, Texas has the second largest immigrant population in the United States, accounting for nearly 15% of the national total. From the oil fields of Midland to the construction sites of Dallas, immigrant workers are as essential to the Texas economy as cattle and highways. Their impact is enormous. Undocumented immigrants in Texas contribute roughly $4.6 billion in state and local taxes each year and drive an estimated $15 billion in annual spending power. In key industries like construction, agriculture, and manufacturing, they make up more than 30% of the workforce. Houston's skyline, Austin's booming tech hubs, and sprawling suburbs across the state were all built, cleaned, and maintained by immigrant labor. Yet Texas remains one of the toughest states for immigrants. State leaders frequently clash with federal authorities over border security, enforcing strict policies that create fear and uncertainty for many long-term residents. Most undocumented workers earn between $15 and $18 per hour, yet face skyrocketing living costs. Houston's median rent now tops $1,550, while Austin averages nearly $1,950. Despite the challenges, 60% of undocumented Texans have lived in the U.S. for over a decade, raising American-born children and contributing daily to the state's growth. They fill vital roles in construction, trucking, agriculture, and food services, industries that would collapse without their labor. Texas embodies America's immigration paradox, a state fiercely guarding its borders while depending entirely on the very workers it seeks to deter. Without undocumented immigrants, the Texas economy, and much of America's, would simply grind to a halt. Number 4. New York, the hidden workforce behind the Empire State's strength. New York, long known as the gateway to the American dream, remains a beacon of hope for over 410,000 undocumented immigrants who call it home. From the Bronx to Buffalo, they form the invisible backbone of the New York economy, powering industries that keep the Empire State alive. While lawmakers in Albany and Washington debate immigration reform, undocumented workers quietly sustain the city's heartbeat, cleaning hotels, cooking in restaurants, building skyscrapers, and caring for the elderly. Nearly 70% of New York's undocumented residents live in New York City, where they dominate key sectors such as construction, hospitality, transportation, and home health care. The median income for undocumented families hovers around $39,000 a year, barely half the city's median of $75,000. Yet, the cost of living is crushing. A one-bedroom apartment averages $3,200 per month, while grocery prices have risen 23% since 2020. For many, survival means sharing crowded apartments, skipping healthcare, and depending on local nonprofits for support. Despite these struggles, New York stands out as one of the most immigrant-supportive states in the nation. The Excluded Workers Fund, a $2.1 billion relief program, aided more than 130,000 undocumented workers left out of federal COVID assistance. The NYSDAM Act further opened access to state financial aid for undocumented students, empowering a new generation to pursue higher education. Economically, their impact is undeniable, contributing over $1.1 billion annually in state and local taxes, while filling critical labor shortages in healthcare, construction, and hospitality. Still, challenges persist. Rising housing costs, political polarization, and workplace exploitation cast long shadows. Yet, from the subways to the skyline, undocumented immigrants remain the unseen builders of New York's prosperity. The hands that may never gain citizenship but have built the city that defines it. Number 3. Illinois, the hidden workforce, powering the heart of the Midwest. Illinois, anchored by the powerhouse city of Chicago, is home to more than 420,000 undocumented immigrants, forming an essential part of the Illinois economy. From Chicago's glittering skyscrapers to the meatpacking plants of Aurora and the farmlands of Kankakee, immigrant workers are the backbone of a state generating over $1 trillion in annual GDP. In the Chicago metropolitan area, undocumented immigrants make up nearly 7% of the total labor force, filling vital roles in construction, hospitality, cleaning, and food production. Yet, their average hourly wage, about $16, is barely half of Illinois' statewide average of $31. With rent in Chicago averaging $2,100 per month. Survival often means long hours, side jobs, and shared apartments among multiple families. Despite their challenges, Illinois remains one of the most immigrant-friendly states. Programs like the Illinois Health Benefits for Immigrant Adults, HBIA, provide access to health care, while the Trust Act limits police cooperation with federal immigration authorities. The state also allows undocumented residents to obtain driver's licenses, offering a measure of dignity and security to thousands of families. Economically, their impact is massive. Undocumented immigrants in Illinois contribute over $1.4 billion annually in state and local taxes and account for about 6% of all consumer spending in the Chicago region, billions flowing into housing, food, and transportation. Yet life remains tough. Inflation and crime have made daily survival harder, with grocery costs up 21% and utilities nearly 30% since 2020. Still, their resilience defines the Illinois story. Hardworking, diverse, and indispensable. From cleaning Chicago's high-rises to harvesting corn in central Illinois, undocumented immigrants aren't guests. They are the foundation of this state's strength. Number 2. Florida, the hidden workforce behind the Sunshine State. Florida may look like paradise, palm trees, blue skies, and year-round sunshine. But beneath that postcard image lies an invisible workforce keeping the state's economy alive. As of 2025, nearly 590,000 undocumented immigrants in Florida power vital industries including construction, agriculture, and hospitality, the very sectors that fuel the Florida economy and attract millions of tourists each year. In Miami-Dade, Collier, and Hillsborough counties, undocumented workers make up as much as 10% of the total workforce. They harvest tomatoes and oranges worth over $8 billion annually, clean luxury resorts, and rebuild communities after hurricanes. Yet despite their essential roles, most earn just $13 to $17 per hour, far below what's needed to survive in a state where the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment exceeds $2,000 per month. According to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, undocumented immigrants contribute more than $1.2 billion each year in state and local taxes, even while being excluded from most benefits. However, Florida Senate Bill 1718 passed in 2023, has made life harder. The law penalizes employers, restricts healthcare access, and requires hospitals to collect patients' immigration status, creating fear and uncertainty for thousands of families. Still, they stay. Many have lived in Florida for decades, raising U.S.-born children and supporting relatives abroad. Each year, over $1 billion in remittances flow from Florida to Latin America, reflecting both sacrifice and resilience. After Hurricane Ian, undocumented construction crews rebuilt homes long before official contractors arrived, a quiet testament to their determination. Florida's success rests on these unseen hands, picking fruit in the heat, cleaning hotel rooms, and building the skyline. Without undocumented immigrant labor, the Sunshine State's paradise would simply stop shining. Number 1. California, the heart of America's immigrant workforce. California, the world's fifth largest economy, is both the dream and the dilemma of immigration in America. Home to an estimated 2.6 million undocumented immigrants, the state accounts for nearly 1 in 5 of all unauthorized residents nationwide. From the Central Valley's farmlands to Silicon Valley's innovation hubs, undocumented workers form the invisible backbone of California's economy, fueling industries that feed the nation and drive global progress. Agriculture tells the clearest story. California produces over $50 billion in crops every year, and roughly 60% of its farm labor force is undocumented. In regions like Fresno, Bakersfield, and Salinas, these workers endure grueling 10-hour shifts in extreme heat, earning just $14 to $17 per hour with little job security or benefits. Meanwhile, in cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Jose, undocumented immigrants sustain vital roles in construction, hospitality, food service, and manufacturing, jobs essential to keeping California's $4.7 trillion economy moving. But life here comes at a price. The median rent across California now exceeds $2,700 per month, while groceries have risen 25% since 2020. Many undocumented families share overcrowded housing just to stay afloat. Still, their economic contributions are immense, paying over $8 billion in state and local taxes annually and generating more than $80 billion in consumer spending. California leads the nation with progressive immigrant policies, offering driver's licenses, healthcare access, and in-state tuition through the California Dream Act. Yet rising housing costs, inflation, and political polarization continue to strain this vulnerable community. From the fields of the Central Valley to the skyscrapers of Los Angeles, undocumented workers are the hands that harvest, build, and sustain the Golden State. Without them, California's glow would fade fast,